We often have confused between two financial terms, markup and interest rate. From a borrower or buyer's point of view, in either case, you have to pay extra amount you have taken. And both terms reflect sort of burden on borrower. But when we go in details, both have minute difference. Let's try to explain. By definition, interest is the additional amount paid for interest bearing loan, where the markup is the additional amount added to the cost of a product. That means that means if a seller buys an item for $10 and resells it for $15, then his markup is $5. Likewise, when a bank sells a car on 10% markup, they basically want to say that they have bought this car on X price and reselling this after adding their profit in the form of markup. Interest is the amount paid in addition to the original price, while markup is sort of topping up on the original price. Aim of markup is to earn profit, while aim of interest is to compensate cost depreciated. Interest is not usually charged on products, rather on borrowed assets, mostly in the form of cash. Because of this, an interest rate can be thought of as the cost of money. The interest rate is the cost of debt for the borrower and rate of return for the lender. Interest rate is for borrowers and lenders, while markup is for sellers and buyers. That means when interest is involved, the relationship between two persons is of borrower and lender, and when markup is involved, the relationship is sort of investor and client. Another angle of difference between these two can be markup is for luxury and interest is for necessity. In markup, two persons share their profit, one takes services, other takes profit, and in interest, a sort of exploitation, little exploitation or charge is involved. Now let's discuss what's difference between interest and markup from Islamic perspective. When we say Islamic perspective, first thing that springs to mind is that which is halal and which is haram. Before going in details, generally there are two types of point of views. First one is those who are hardliners. They say that both have similar operations on ground and process of things or cash is almost same. So both are prohibited. Other point of view is that since intent and purpose of both is not same, so both will not be dealt same. In markup, one party gets services and other gets profit. So it's a win-win situation for both parties. But in interest, one who is being charged is always at losing end and being exploitative in nature. That's a summary. Let's try to explain in details. Quran uses word riba and prohibits it. Its modern day translation is interest. Riba in those times was cost of money. When somebody gave loan, he took extra amount and upon inability of repayment, it gets increasing, just like modern day compound interest. Ahadith of Holy Prophet says, every loan that drives a profit is riba. Likewise, in Quran, at various places, it has been discussed and prohibited, like in Surah Rum, and whatever riba give you so that it may increase in wealth of the people, it does not increase with Allah. And other verse is Surah An-Nisa, which says, and because of their charging riba while they were prohibited from it. Likewise, in Surah Al Imran, its prohibition is laid down as, O those who believe, do not eat up riba, doubled and redoubled. Similarly, ayat number 275 of Surah Al-Baqarah says, those who take riba will not stand, but as stands the one whom the demon has driven crazy, but his touch. That's because they have said sale is but like riba, while Allah has permitted sale but prohibited riba. Dr. Akdas Ali Kazmi, who conforms to first point of view, says in its operations, structure, and use, markup resembles interest. If the Sharia accepts markup as valid, it is left with no basis to reject interest. Sharia jurists cannot reject interest if they accept markup. So according to him, in no way owner has right to charge higher than what he has given. That is exploitation. For this school of thought, Islam allows money which you get by hard work or effort and for which you have borne risk of its investment. Because Islam asserts circulation of money and distribution among society. So according to Quran, Surah Najm, ayat number 39, and that there is not for man except that for which he strives. Now coming towards second school of thought, they believe markup is allowed but interest is not. They normally consider 2 points to allow markup. First one is time value of money, that is if price of an item is $100 today and seller gets $100 after a year installments, then after a year that $100 will not worth the same because of inflation. Thus seller will be at losing end. So it should be his right to compensate time value of money, but it should be proportionate. Second point is usufruct. In case product sold is consumable like car, house, in that case extra money is rent of use of product. But in case of borrowed cash, that will not be allowed because if a person borrows money, it vanishes. But if a person borrows car, it doesn't. If money lender asks extra amount of charge on money, then borrower will have to reproduce original amount plus extra interest. It's interest, but if car borrower is asked to return car plus rent, then it's simply the charge of the services he has availed. There is almost a consensus among Sharia scholars that credit price of a commodity can generally be more than its cash price, provided one price is settled before separation of the parties. For example, you fill fuel in car and pay bill in cash or in credit. Cash price is the price you pay in the form of cash, and credit price is the price you pay in credit. Cash price is higher because they have to offset processing fee they are being charged by credit card companies every time their customers swipe a card. Risk factor involved plus time lapse. Another point is seller has right to sell his product on any price. And when both parties agree on a high price, it's not exploitation. However, exploitation starts when borrower is unable to pay at committed or specific time and now he is demanded to pay even more than agreed price. On the other hand, Islam asserts empathy, gentleness, and encourages people to give some respite. As hadith says, Holy Prophet said, whoever gives respite to someone in difficulty will have reward an act of charity for each day. Whoever gives him respite after payment becomes due will have an act of charity equal for each day. The late Sheikh Abdullah ibn Baz, who was the most honored Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, permitted installment sale wherein the credit price should be higher than cash price. The above discussion leads to an important conclusion that while time value of money is acceptable in respect of the pricing of assets and their usufruct, it is not acceptable with regard to any addition to the principal of loans or debts. That is, if principal is to offset time value of money, then allowed. If addition is to charged as cost of money, then not. In both cases, delay in payment punishment is always prohibited. Thank you very much.